CCA students. This past week we have been learning about macromolecules, carbohydrates, which are made up of the monomer glucose, which forms into long chains, those complex carbohydrates. We've talked about proteins made up of the monomer amino acids, and we've talked about lipids, those fats and oils. Today we're going to explore the food pyramid. The USDA, U.S. Department of Agriculture, has a guide of things that you should eat. So if you look here down below the line from CCA headquarters are the carbohydrates. They make up the base of the pyramid. Above that are your vegetables and your fruits. Above that are the dairy. And beside that are the proteins. And at the very tippy top are the fats.
Whoa, wait.
Hi, Mrs. Vegas.
We don't even use this anymore.
What?
No, we don't use this anymore. Instead, now we're using this. MyPlate.
Oh, well, this makes sense. Can someone explain this to me?
Sure, Mrs. Bieber. So instead of the food guide pyramid that we used to use when you and I were growing up, back when there were dinosaurs, we now use MyPlate. What happened was when you had the food guide pyramid that was shaped like this and you had the grains at the bottom here, it gave people the false assumption that you should be eating more carbs than anything else in your diet. So new research has actually shown us that those carb-heavy diets that we used to recommend are not as good for our bodies as we thought they were. So the MyPlate shows a more balanced way to eat. And that's one of the things we want you to remember about science as we go through the school year this year, is that as new research comes out, scientists go back and they revise their prior hypotheses and see if the new evidence that's there leads to a different understanding of how we used to do things. MyPlate is similar to the food guide pyramid in a lot of ways. It still contains fruits and vegetables and your grains and your proteins and your dairy, but it has them in different proportions. So we didn't completely change the way we're recommending that we eat, but we made some modifications based on that science. So let's go through some different foods and show you how they fit into MyPlate.
Well, here, I had some cashews as a snack. Where does this fit in?
Well, cashews are really high in protein, so they would probably fit here. But take a look at the nutrition label. Are there any other nutrients we've been talking about this week that are in the cashews?
Total fat, 13 grams.
Okay, so there really isn't a place on here for fats. So in the food guide pyramid, there were fats and sweets way up at the top. For this, there isn't really a place for fats. Fats are found inside foods that have other nutrients along with them. So we want to be reasonable about the amount of fats we eat. We want to eat some fats because they're good for our body, but you want to make sure that you're limiting the amount of fats that you eat and you're eating good fats. So cashews contain good fats. They contain unsaturated fats that are good for our body. Are there any other nutrients?
There's 9 grams of total carbs.
Okay, so there's carbohydrates in here. So even though this is primarily a protein, you're still getting carbohydrates in that. And that's one of the reasons we changed up MyPlate, because if you were eating a lot of bread during the day and then also were eating nuts for your protein, you were ending up with more carbs than you needed for the day.
This all makes sense.
Wait, Mrs. Kohler, I have an eggplant, a banana, and a tangerine.
Well, the banana and the tangerine are definitely fruits, so they would go up here. Where do you think the eggplant goes?
I think it's going to go in the big green vegetables.
Yeah, it probably would fit in vegetables. But you know, did you know that an eggplant's technically a fruit?
Ah, I don't think I knew that.
Anything that has seeds inside of it is actually a fruit. So a lot of the things that we eat and consider vegetables, like peppers and tomatoes and cucumbers, they're actually fruits. But when we're balancing our diet, we tend to consider these vegetables because they're low in sugar. They're high in fiber, low in sugar, so for dietary reasons, we consider them a vegetable.
So my banana is high in sugar.
Yes.
Bananas are one of the fruits that are one of the highest in sugar, right?
They are one of the highest in sugar.
That's why we like them so much.
Yeah. Your low sugar fruits would be like strawberries and melons and blueberries.
Oh, blueberries, love
Yeah.
blueberries.
All right, Mrs. Kohler, what if I had a breakfast of milk and oatmeal?
All right, well, where do you think those would fit?
Well, milk definitely has to be a dairy.
Okay.
And I would have to guess that oatmeal would be right in there with the grains.
Yeah, oatmeal's definitely a grain, and it's a really good for you grain because it has a lot of fiber and it's good for your health and helps lower cholesterol. Now, your milk you said is a dairy, but are there any other nutrients in there that we've talked about this week?
There are. When I look at this food label, it says that there are carbohydrates, fats, and proteins.
All right, so milk actually contains all three of the macromolecules that we were talking about this week. So carbohydrates are found in milk. There's a sugar in there called lactose, and you may have heard of people that are lactose intolerant. That's the thing that people have trouble digesting. So there is a carb in milk called lactose. It's a sugar. In fact, some diabetic people, if their blood sugar is low, they will actually drink a glass of milk to raise their blood sugar. It's almost as effective as orange juice in raising your blood sugar. There's also proteins in your dairy. So even though you're eating proteins as part of your plate, you're getting additional protein every day when you eat your dairy. And there is also fat in your milk, and that's saturated fat. Generally find saturated fat in animal products.
All right, thank you.
Mrs. Kohler, I've got two other unusual ones. I have tuna, and then I have chickpeas.
Well, where do you think that they belong?
Well, the tuna, I was just looking because I was paying attention to what Mrs. Vegas was doing, and she looked at her label, and her label said it had fats and stuff in it, but this particular one for the tuna only has protein. There's no sugars, there's a little bit of sodium, no total carbs, so this would definitely go under our protein, under the purple, right?
All right, yeah, tuna is one of the better proteins that you can eat. That contains omega-3 fatty acids that are incredibly good for your body.
But the chickpeas,
Well, they're a vegetable, right?
yeah, no seeds, right?
Right, no seeds, so they're vegetable.
Okay, but on the label, I was looking at the label, I was really confused because it's got a lot of carbohydrates, it has lots of protein, and it also has, says saturated fats.
Oh, you know what? I do. I have a friend that's vegetarian, and they eat chickpeas as their protein source.
There's a lot of protein in chickpeas, I didn't realize. There's like, almost 10% of this is protein.
Oh, wow. Well, so I guess we would probably put chickpeas with our protein then, but we would want to remember that we're also getting a lot of carbohydrates in with that protein.
I've got one for you. A lot of people love snacking on chips. And they're a vegetable, right? So they could go in the vegetable category right here, green.
Yeah, but they're a starchy vegetable. So the USDA recommends that we limit the amount of starchy vegetables that we eat every day. We want to try to eat more cruciferous things like broccoli and cauliflower, and then leafy greens like lettuce.
Plus they're fried in fats. So that doesn't help.
Oh, so they also contain a lipid then?
They do. But somebody brought in some of these very cool seaweed flakes. They're crunchy and they're a great substitute for the potato chips.
And they also fit into vegetables, and because they are not starchy, you can eat a lot more of these as a part of a balanced diet.
Sounds good.
Well, did you learn something today, Mrs. Beaver?
I learned a lot today. And I learned that science will change when new evidence comes in, and this MyPlate makes a lot of sense compared to that food pyramid that's carb heavy. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I had a lot of fun showing you all these interesting things about MyPlate.
Great.
Have a great day.
Brought to you by the biology team.
Oh, it's not going to count down? Oh, because I already recorded some. All right, that's fine. I'll just cut this out.
Okay.
We're good. Now you can tell all the stories because we're done.
I have been on here.
No, I kept relating.
So I'm trying to show these seaweed snacks. It package is green, so you can see right through it. So it looks like there's a hole in me. So I'm showing you the vegetables through the hole in my cell. This turns red and starts ticking. Okay.